Happy Monday, April 27th. Welcome back to Capital Markets Quickie. I'm your host, Endrit Sella, and let's get into the week ahead on the markets. Today's episode is brought to you by AMF Capital. Learn more at amf-capital.de. Let's dive in. Now, the big one first, the Federal Reserve. The Fed kicks things off today, with its meeting starting now and wrapping up on Wednesday. Most investors expect the central bank to hold rates steady in that 3.5 to 3.75% range, exactly where they've been since January. But honestly, it's not just about the decision. It's about the tone. Markets are trying to figure out how the Fed sees the economy holding up amid the ongoing US-Iran tensions. And here's the dilemma. Growth has been a bit sluggish, which argues for lower rates. But inflation risks are still very real, especially with higher oil prices in the mix. So, Powell's press conference on Wednesday? That's going to be must-watch. Now, at the same time, we've got earnings. And not just any earnings. We're talking big tech, the so-called Magnificent Seven. On Wednesday, we hear from Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, and Microsoft, all on the same day, which is pretty wild. Then, on Thursday, Apple follows. These are some of the biggest companies on the planet, and their numbers, and more importantly, their outlook, can move the entire market. There's still a lot of optimism around artificial intelligence, especially the massive investments going into infrastructure. But the big question remains, when do those investments actually start paying off? So far, investors have been willing to look past geopolitical risks and keep piling into tech. That trade gets tested this week. Now, beyond big tech, there's more to watch. On Tuesday, we get earnings from Seagate and Starbucks, with investors looking closely at whether Starbucks' turnaround is gaining traction. Then, on Wednesday, Chipotle joins the mix. Thursday brings results from Western Digital and SanDisk, both key players in the data storage space, another area tied closely to the artificial intelligence boom. And then on Friday, energy takes center stage. ExxonMobil and Chevron report, with oil markets still reacting to headlines around the Strait of Hormuz. And finally, over the weekend, Berkshire Hathaway holds its annual shareholder meeting, now under Greg Abel's leadership, marking a new chapter after Warren Buffett. So, big picture? This week is all about central banks, big tech, and whether the artificial intelligence narrative can keep carrying markets forward. Let's see how it plays out. Alright, that's it for today's Capital Markets Quickie. If you found this helpful, hit subscribe and stay in the loop. And if you want more insights, just add me on LinkedIn. Always happy to connect. See you tomorrow morning.